Hi everyone, so this video I'm doing is going to be very useful for any of my fellow actors out there. I'm going to be talking about the voice and how the voice is important for an actor, and I'm going to be focusing on projection as well, because projection for an actor is very, very key. So I'm going to be talking about techniques, I'm going to be talking about maybe some voice, vocal health and all that. So basically anything that's to do with the voice, because the voice is very important for an actor. So if you're wanting to know why the voice is important and how we really project our voice, watch this video, it's going to be key. So without further ado, let's get started. So why is the voice important for an actor, and why is it so important for performances? So as actors, we perform a lot, especially when we talk. We're always reciting, like, lines that the character is supposed to say, and sometimes we have to use our voices for quite a long periods of time, especially if you've got a big part in a play. If you're on stage throughout the entire thing, you're going to be talking a lot, so it's always important that we make sure that our voices are healthy and that they're warmed up properly. And why is it so important to project? Well, if you're performing in a really big theatre and there's loads of people right at the back, you have to make sure that you are projecting your voice right to the back so that they can hear you, because if you might be a great performer, but if nobody can hear you, your point is lost. So that's why it is really important that we're really projecting our voices so that every person in that audience can hear you. And it's always important, like I said, to make sure our voices are healthy. So you need to make sure you're warming up and making sure you're drinking the right stuff, and making sure there's, like, maybe drinking drinks that you shouldn't drink because they might have an effect on your voice. So I'm going to be talking about that in a minute, and we'll also do some techniques to help you really get your voice warmed up and help them in order to get your voice projected. So one way we keep our voices healthy is making sure, like I said, we always warm up. And the reason why we need to warm up is to make sure we're basically getting the muscles that we use to really project the voice, making sure that they're ready to go. Because if they're not ready to go, you're at risk of basically injuring your voice. And that's the thing, we can't risk injuring or making any damage to our voice, because we need our voices, our actors, to be able to speak. So that's why it's really important that we're warming up, it doesn't have to be too much of a warm up, even if it's just a quick 2-minute one, just breathing or just projecting. As long as it's all ready to go, then your voice is in good condition. And it's always very important to make sure that we're drinking plenty of water, because our throats and all that, they can get really dehydrated if we don't drink enough water. So it's very important that you drink a good amount of water every day, especially if you've got a big performance going up, and that'll keep your voice healthy and basically get it all ready to go. So now I'm going to talk to you about some warm-ups that will help you get your voice ready to go, and especially the stuff within your body that helps you to really project your voice. So let's get started. So the first thing we need to do is make sure that our posture is right. Posture is really helpful for making sure that we're getting the breath out of us properly and making sure everything's nice and relaxed. So we don't want to basically have any tension within our necks or on our shoulders. If we're putting tension with them, it's going to make it a bit hard. So basically it's all about releasing that tension and making sure there's everything nice and relaxed. Yeah, so just stand straight, making sure there's no tension within your shoulders, neck or your knees. Just stay nice and relaxed. Don't be putting your head forward like that, because you're going to put pressure on your larynx and your throat, and it's going to sound a bit funny when you try and talk. So yeah, making sure everything's nice and relaxed. Take a breath, nice and relaxed, and that's going to really help get the breath out when we project our voices. And one other thing we're going to do now is we're going to do a yawn, and basically this yawn that we're about to do is going to help relax the jaw and just release any tension. And we're going to stretch out as well, because that will also help release any tension as well within our shoulders. So give a nice big yawn and really stretch out. And that's going to really help us relax and just get the tension out. And that's really going to help us out with projecting. So the next important thing to remember is that when we are projecting our voices, when we're using the breath to project, it's all coming from the diaphragm. It's not from the throat. Some people think it's from the throat. It's not. It's from your diaphragm, which is located round about here in your belly. And basically, if we use our throats to project, in fact, it's not even projecting when you're using your throat, it's shouting. And that's a very dangerous thing. If you're shouting instead of projecting, then you're going to be really damaging your throat and your voice. And as actors, like I said, we need our voices in order to perform. So if you're damaging your voice, you're not going to be able to perform. So remember, it's not from the neck or the larynx right here, the throat or anything like that. It's from here, the diaphragm. So the next thing we're going to do some breathing exercises. So getting some breath right into us, right into the diaphragm, and then breathing out. So what we'll do is, what you want to do is take a breath for 4 seconds, hold it for 4 seconds, and then exhale for 8, yeah? So what I'll do is, I will breathe in, and then when we hold, I'll put my hand up like this to hold, and then when I put my hand down, you can release, yeah? So remember, breathe in for 4, hold for 4, out for 8, all right? Let's give it a try. And again, and if you want to put your hand on your diaphragm as well so you can feel it, feel free to do so. So let's do that again. And one more time. So yeah, it's really important we get enough breath going into the diaphragm, because like I said, that's what's key for projecting. When we breathe in and when we breathe out, the diaphragm pushes the air from our diaphragm right up through our chest, right out of our throats and out. So remember, not the throat, the diaphragm. Remember, the throat means shouting. We don't want to do that. If we want to project, it's from the diaphragm. And one other key thing we need to remember when projecting, we need to make sure that we're projecting it to the right point of the theatre. So in this case, we want to make sure it's going out towards the audience. We don't want it to go down into the ground or into the sides, because if it's doing that, like going to the ground or the sides, the audience aren't really going to pick it up, but they're the ones that need to hear it. So we have to make sure that when projecting, it's going directly to the audience. So this next technique that we're going to do, we're going to breathe in, and then when we exhale, I want you to do like an R sound. We're going to use our arms to do this. So when we breathe in, I want you to raise your arm, breathe in, and then when we release the breath on an R, I want you to do something like this. So I'll show you what we're going to do. So basically what I'm doing is I'm letting all of the air, I'm letting it out towards where my arm's pointing. I'm basically pointing out to where, I'm basically showing my breath where it needs to go. It needs to go directly that way. That's where my audience is. I don't want it to go into the ground or in the side, directly to the point where the projection needs to go. Okay, so, like I said again, have your arm raised, take a breath into the diaphragm, and then a big R, and make sure and bring your arm down like that, yeah? So let's give it a try. Let's do that one more time. Yep, so all the sound that we're producing is going directly out to them, because that's where we want it to go, and it will sound much better, and the audience are going to hear you much better as well. So there are just a few techniques and a few pieces of advice of how to project the voice. So I may do another video on this, covering a few more points. If you want to see any more points, then let me know. I might just do another part 2. But there's some of the basic points. So just to recap, remember, the voice is really important for an actor, especially when performing for so long. And it's always important to keep them healthy. So making sure we're doing warm-ups, drinking water and all that. And making sure that we're breathing from the diaphragm. Remember, it's not the throat, it's the diaphragm. Remember, if you're doing it from the throat, you're shouting, and we don't want to shout, we want to project. So make sure it's from the diaphragm. So yeah, I hope this came in useful for you guys. Like I said, I may do another one of these giving more details out, but this is maybe just like a part 1. If you want me to do a part 2, I'm more than welcome to do so. But hope you all enjoyed. If you have any other questions, just throw them that way to me, and I'll do my best to answer. But yeah, hope you enjoyed it, guys. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you all soon.